A couple of you left comments asking me what I thought about the presidential debate that happened last week. And I'll share my opinion because I do think it's important, but I'm going to just kind of share my overall opinion because there was a lot that was said. Most of it was incoherent.
Cause brain damage for a number of these troops.
Um, there was a lot that was discussed, but I guess, yeah, I'll just jump into it. Who do I think won the debate? I would say Trump won the debate because he was talking to his people, and he seemed more with it, more cognizant. He seemed to actually understand what was going on and responded to the questions in an acceptable way. Yes, he speaks a little bit strangely, the way he puts sentences together, but he seems to have it there. As for Biden, he was mumbling. He only had one good comeback, which made me laugh quite hard, which was the "you have the morals of an alley cat." That made me laugh. But Trump pretty much answered questions in a coherent enough way, especially when you have them side by side. Although it's Trump, I'm not thrilled about him possibly becoming president again. I have a feeling that unless something dramatic changes, he'll probably win. Now, a lot can happen, so I'm not counting out underhanded tactics. If that happens, it'll be interesting to see how things play out with China and the United States. But let's focus on the debate. Neither of them had anything interesting to say, to be honest. Biden is stuck in the 1970s and 80s Cold War mentality. He believes that Russia is trying to take over all of Europe. And because of that belief, in my opinion, that's why the war in Ukraine is happening. Because I feel there could have been compromises before Russia invaded Ukraine. But if you think that Russia is the enemy, and that's what Biden thinks, and you think that they have this grand vision of taking over all of Europe, which is what he said in the debate, then you're going to act in ways that essentially provoke Russia. And that's what Putin's been saying, is that you guys provoked this war by trying to get Ukraine to join NATO and by doing things that were red lines for Russia and specifically Putin. So if Biden gets reelected, we are not going to have an end to that war in Ukraine. There will be no peace agreement that is acceptable to either side because Biden has this mentality of Russia is trying to take over all of Europe. Regardless of if it's true, I'm not trying to assess what's going on in that conflict. I'm trying to assess what Biden has literally said. Along with that, they signed an agreement to support Ukraine for the next 10 years. So I don't see a conclusion with the war in Ukraine with Biden because he doesn't think that there can be a solution there. He's not going to entertain a solution there because he believes Russia hasn't changed since the Cold War. That's his mentality. With Trump, he said he would have a deal done before he even gets into office. Is that possible? Trump is erratic. And I think, maybe not before he gets into office, but I think dealing with, like Putin dealing with Biden, he knows Biden is an old man. He's not coherent. We don't even know who's running the United States right now, and we wouldn't know if he gets reelected because Joe Biden clearly is not running the United States. My bet is it's part of his cabinet in Jill Biden because she seems with it, which that's what nobody likes right now. Nobody knows who's in charge in the United States. It's clearly not Biden. He can't string together sentences. He seems like he has, maybe mid-level dementia. I don't know, because he's still there, but he's just not sharp. And he's just not, like, it's not late stage dementia to the point where he's like completely gone, because he was answering the questions. There was some cognitive wheels turning, but they were turning slowly, and they just didn't, like, he just didn't seem to make sense. Plus, you can tell that his mental capacity has diminished. You can just see it. There's no way to hide that. And it's not like he's going to all of a sudden get better in the next 4 years. He's only going to deteriorate. So if people are looking at it for a vote for Biden, is essentially maybe putting Kamala Harris, if that's the running mate, as the president in 1, 2, or 3 years because Biden can't fulfill the oath of office, I think a lot of people aren't going to vote for that. I just don't think a lot of people are ready for that. And it's not like Kamala Harris has done anything remarkable or impressive for people to vote for her, because that's essentially what the vote is going to be. If you vote for Biden, you're essentially voting for her, because she's probably going to become president in the next 1 or 2 years when he's too far gone, or maybe he even dies, because that job is a stressful job. My biggest problem is, like, how are the two parties, the Democrats and the Republican, only able to produce these candidates? If you look at the United States adult population over 35 who could run for president, there's got to be 100 million people that could qualify. My confusion, or my, like, frustration, is how can neither of these parties produce somebody who is under the age of, 65, at least still within, working age. How can they not produce somebody under the age of, 80, essentially, that is able to speak, able to comprehend international policy, able to understand economics, able to be charismatic? I mean, this was why so many people fell for Obama when he was elected, was because he was young, he was energetic, he symbolized hope, essentially. Regardless of how you feel about him as a president, he fit the bill as a young, energetic guy who could lead the nation into something more. Unfortunately, it was more war, but yeah, I just don't understand how either of these parties can't produce a candidate that would be worth voting for. Because you may like Trump because of his policies, but he's not necessarily a great candidate. He has a lot of baggage. He has a lot of policies that may or may not be effective. The one thing that I can credit him for is when he was president, there weren't any major conflicts. Biden has been president for 3.5 years, and you have Ukraine, you have Gaza, you have, other conflicts that have become more, I guess, intense. If you see what's going on with Yemen, so they're sinking ships out in the Gulf. You have Lebanon possibly being attacked now from Israel, and starting that whole conflict to engage and continue. And so that's just on the international kind of affairs. Either one of these presidents, if they get elected, things are not going to go well for the U.S. and China relationships. Like, nothing's going to improve, in my opinion. Trump's going to make it worse if he gets elected, and Biden's going to continue course, which is essentially downhill. As for domestic policies, neither of them have much to say about that. Trump is only focusing on immigration, which is a big talking point, and I do think people are more willing to vote along those lines. And as for the economy, it seemed like both of them were just kind of mumbling about tax breaks or taxes, which ultimately I don't think that moves the needle as much as they think it does, versus living wages and actually helping the average Joe out. Getting a tax break where you get an extra $20 into your bank account from your paycheck every month isn't really going to move the needle, because you're already living in poverty. You're already living below like a survivable line, not even the poverty line, but like you might be working for 15 or 20 bucks an hour, but you're still struggling. So unless you can move that needle to be more significant, I don't think taxes, most people don't care about taxes. Most people don't even focus on taxes at the level of like the average worker. We all hate taxes, and at the end of the year we think, oh god, they took a lot of money from me, maybe we get a tax, a paycheck back, a tax refund. But most of us, it's just part of life, and we aren't really into the tax code. Only wealthy people get really into it, because those are the ones that could potentially lose millions or even billions of dollars. As for us average people, yeah, we lose some money, but it's taxes are taxes. Whereas I'd rather have some kind of relief in terms of actually allowing me to feel like I'm surviving. So you have two candidates. Trump is basically saying the United States is falling apart and it's a third world country. Biden is basically saying, where am I? Is it 1980? Because I feel like Russia's trying to attack us. And neither of those, I think, are good candidates for the United States in this moment in time, or really any moment in time, but specifically this moment in time. Trump, I think, has more talking points that are going to be relatable. Immigration, the economy, even saying that the United States is like a third world country. That resonates right now with a lot of people. And that's a problem, because I think you need a candidate who says, we have gone down, but I have a real plan to get us out. I have a solution, whether it's infrastructure or whether it's international trade or whether it's just not giving away billions of dollars to other countries to fight wars that may or may not be necessary. I mean, Biden was saying, I'll give all the weapons to Israel, and I want to arm the Ukraine, like the Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian army. And I think a lot of people say, no, I want to walk outside and have roads that aren't falling apart and bridges that aren't falling apart. And I want to walk outside and not have homeless people everywhere, because they're actually being taken care of through the taxes that you're taking out of my paycheck. And neither of them seem to have a plan for that. Trump was basically saying, we're being disrespected and nobody respects us internationally. And Biden was saying, we're the best country in the world and have been and always will be, without actually looking at where the United States stands right now. The United States, is still a great country and still has a lot to offer the world. It's just you need to get rid of corrupt politicians, and you need to change the way voting and elections are done. You need to get rid of lobbyists, and then you need to refocus on the United States to build the United States. You build the United States, and then other people will respect you. You take care of your own people and show the world that you are an actual leader when it comes to international finance, when it comes to international affairs, when it comes to humanitarian relief and aid. You do those things, and then the rest of the world will say, I want to be friends with the United States because they're doing good things in the world. You go around and you bomb everybody and you threaten everybody, they're going to say, I don't want to be your friend. I don't want to look up to you. I don't think your leadership is what we need in the world right now. This is why people are turning to Russia and China and saying, well, they're the other powers that have something to offer. It may not be great, but at least it's not endless war. And so the United States has a lot to offer. It's still an extremely strong economy, and the American people are extremely innovative. And I don't think the United States is done. But if you continue these types of leaders, like you keep electing these types of leaders, then it will continue to fall. And there is no hope with the current candidates, unfortunately, And I don't know where you go with that. I mean, what do you guys think? Because what I saw was a current president who has declined to the point where I don't feel he's running the country anymore, and a former president who's trying to get reelected but seems to have extremely damaging policies that are basically based on polling of the worst Republicans in the Republican Party. They want to be anti-immigration. They want to be, tough on Russia and China. They want to have 100% tariffs and all these other things that I don't think moves the country in the right direction, and it isolates the United States more, creates more distrust and bad will towards the United States, when actually the United States has a lot to offer if you just had good leaders. If the leaders came in and said, let's look at what's actually happening in the world and how the United States could actually lead the world to a better place, you could get there. And hundreds of nations around the world still look up to the United States and still want to work with the United States, but they're finding it harder and harder to do because the policies are more and more extreme, and it seems more and more dangerous to align yourself too closely with the United States because they might stab you in the back, or it might cause other problems down the line. And that's all about leadership and policy making. And as long as you have lobbyists in Congress, pushing corporate agendas through and only concerned about profit, then the United States will continue to be a bank for the rich and everybody else will suffer. And that's kind of why I'm not moving back there. That's a big reason why I'm not moving back there. But yeah, I mean, I could talk about this for hours and hours. I mean, I could make a whole podcast about this. This could be my entire channel, but I don't think that it's worth it. There's a lot of other people that talk about American politics and have more knowledge than me, so I'll leave it to them. I just wanted to comment on it because a couple people asked, and it is important because the next 4 years, it could be a continuation of what we have, which has not been good, or it could be a complete change, which doesn't appear to be better. So what do you guys think? Do you think it's going to be just insane for the next 4 years, or who do you think will win? Do you think Trump has a chance? Do you think Biden can somehow focus for long enough to win the election? I don't know. What do you guys think? Because yeah, it's insane and it was painful to watch. Leave a comment below. Thank you to the members who are still here and are still members, and I will see you in the next video.